NYC in the 80s and 90s was like the Wild Wild West. This was during the war on drugs and the crack epidemic. Crime was rampant in the city, to the point where there was an average of 6 murders a day, about 2,000 murders a year. Poor minority neighborhoods like South Bronx, East New York, Brooklyn, and East Harlem were largely ignored. Crimes in these areas were not marked as priorities. Even if a child was or murdered, if it came from poor neighborhoods, they would be lucky enough to get 4 paragraphs in a newspaper. Media would flock to more upmarket crimes and in more photogenic parts of the city, such as a stockbroker being attacked while jogging in Central Park, or tourists stabbed to death during a subway robbery. In the 90s, since the media would fail to report on crimes in rural parts of Manhattan, it was hard to shed light on a potential murderer on the loose, or like a serial rapist who was also a serial killer. Welcome to How to Deal. If you like true crime stories, serial killer stories, or just stories for some badass killers, please sub to our page and like this video to help us out with the algorithm. Hang out for a while and check out our other videos too on some truly horrifying people. Now let's begin. Today's video brings us to East Harlem native Arohn Kee. Arohn was born on September 18, 1973. He claims to have been a music producer, but no evidence of this has ever surfaced. A cunning and charming individual who was also known to be a perv. He would peep through peepholes in ladies' apartments and was also known to try to catch videotape of upskirt shots with the camera. On January 24, 1991, Arohn, then only 17 years old, kidnapped, strangled and stabbed a 13-year-old named Paola Hilera, whose family emigrated from Colombia. She was on her way home from school, entering her apartment building, got on the elevator, but never made it to her apartment. 3 hours later, a man walking his dog happened to notice a prone figure near a promenade near the East River. It was Paola's young body. The teenage girl was stabbed 3 times by the heart and dumped more than 10 blocks away from her building. It was horrible what happened to this young girl. She was found with a stick of chalk in her pocket used to draw hopscotch boxes on the sidewalk. The rape and murder of a girl this young should have been a high-profile case and stir up a media frenzy. Unfortunately, due to the high crime rate in NYC at the time, this case barely got any recognition. A man's pubic hair was collected from her body and stored for evidence. Throughout the mid-90s, East Harlem was still a haven for non-consensual sex and murder for Black and Hispanic teenage girls. In 1994, a 15-year-old was assaulted at knife point, taken to a secluded area, stripped, and then sodomized. The 15-year-old survived the heinous act and lived to tell her tale. She described her attacker as a clean-cut young man with a well-built body. She also states that the man told her she should be grateful for this encounter and how she should consider herself lucky. This particular case went cold until 2004. On September 13, 1997, firefighters were called to a rooftop fire at the George Washington houses on East 104th Street. Firefighters thought they was putting out a fire on some rubbish or furniture until they noticed a bare breast and realized it was a woman burning, or what was left of her. Everybody in the area was horrified at the thought that someone living in this area could be capable of such atrocities. The female was identified as 19-year-old Johanlis Castro, whose family emigrated from the Dominican Republic. She had been and smothered in the basement, then burned while she was still breathing. Just like Paola, this crime went unnoticed, yet another dead teen in the neighborhood. 7 months later, in April 1998, another 13-year-old girl was sodomized in the same neighborhood. The young victim told police that she screamed in pain while her attacker taunted her, telling her to take it like a woman. 2 months later, on June 2nd, Rashida Washington was found robbed, sodomized, and strangled to death. She was found in the stairwell of an East 112th Street housing project. Covered in nothing but a shirt, she was propped up on a wall in a seated position. That fall, 2 more adolescent girls were blindfolded and sodomized in the area, a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old. They probably escaped alive because they both did not catch a good look at their attacker's face. As all these similar cases piled up, the families of the victims began to put pressure and blame on the police and the media for not covering these stories and not investigating them properly. blaming their ethnic diversity and low priority status given to low-income neighborhoods. Detectives began sending samples to be checked for DNA, something that, up to this point, was very costly and known as invasion of privacy. A breakthrough came in the fall of 1998 when DNA from Rashida Washington matched 2 other rape victims in the neighborhood. Police released a wanted poster with 3 different sketches and a hotline to call. A few days later, police received a tip that they should investigate a gentleman who goes by the name Ace. Police now also had established the name, Arohn Kee. Arohn Kee, now wanted and on the run, kidnapped a 16-year-old girlfriend of his named Angelique. He flew her out to Miami, Florida, sparking a manhunt across the entire East Coast. On the evening of February 19, 1999, Miami police stormed Arohn's hotel room. They rescued Angelique, and Arohn was extradited back to New York, where he was charged with the murders of Rashida Washington, the kidnap and false imprisonment of Angelique, and 2 rapes from 1995 and 1996. Further DNA testing brought to light his involvement in the, by then, unsolved murders of Paula Hilera and Johannes Castro, as well as another rape from 1992. His trial started in 2000, to which he pled not guilty. During the trial, Arohn ranted that he was being framed and that the DNA being used was fake, even though surviving victims identified him as their aggressor. On December 16, 2000, the jury found him guilty of all 3 murders and 3 rapes. When the verdict was read, Arohn yelled, "F*** all of y'all." He was sentenced to 3 consecutive terms of life imprisonment.